I'm an Australian living here in Belarus, and today I want to talk to you about some of the benefits, I guess the good side of living in Belarus, and why you might want to consider it as a longer term option. I'm going to make a corresponding video as well, talking about the reasons why I think you shouldn't live in Belarus as a long term option. But today I'm in Minsk, and I'll turn you around, and I'm in a pretty typical greenfield development area. This is maybe 15, 20 years old. This is what you get a lot of, these kind of high density buildings here, here, here. And you can see the line all the way down the avenue there. And further up this way, same kind of thing, a couple of shopping centres, some offices, more high rise. But what you do get here, which is really positive, that outweighs this, or at least tries to counterbalance it, is a lot of this. You get a lot of green, you get a lot of activity areas, lots of theatres, lots of sports grounds, lots of parks with a lot of activities inside the parks. And it really does help to balance these things up, because when you do have a concrete jungle, you know, it's pretty inhumane, quite frankly. I'm really not a fan of this kind of living. But when you have all this extra stuff, it does make it much more livable. I'm going to quickly stroll through here and just show you a couple of things, because it's not just grass. There's all these kids rides, there's a dog training centre up here, a river, kids are fishing. It's really kind of wholesome, to be fair. So this is one really positive factor about living in Minsk in general. You do have this infrastructure that's here to make things a lot more livable, to try to, again, compensate a bit of that concrete jungle kind of vibe. So that's one positive thing, and I'll just point some things out as I walk through here. I won't walk all the way through, but just show you a couple of things firsthand. Second thing, look, man, if you want to live outside of Minsk, and especially outside of second tier, so you want to go to a third tier or a larger town, land and houses are essentially free. Yeah, they're essentially free. So what do I mean by that? Well, there's really no market for these things. Yeah, no one wants to buy them, no one wants to live in them. Belarus is a shrinking country. Yeah, it's a post-feminist country. Yeah, feminism teaches women that work is most important, and they should work and consume, and definitely does not tell them to have children. So what you find in countries that are post-Soviet is really low birth rates, lower than the West. Yeah, usually they're low in both places, but particularly low here. So what does that mean? It means that the population here is shrinking rapidly. Plus you've got this exodus, this annual exodus of people trying to get out, young people who want to make a lot of money, who have this kind of envy. Let me just zoom this out a bit. Have this kind of Europe envy that's deep in the culture here. They're trying to get out as well. So what does that mean? Well, it means that 9.2 million Belarusians next year will be at 9.1, the next year 9, the next year 8.9. That's the rate of decline at the moment of population. So Minsk itself is growing, yeah? So that means the net negative coming out of the rest of Belarus is minus more than 100,000 per year, right? So you're getting a lot of empty houses, a lot of babushkas dying in the villages, the smaller towns, medium-sized towns, and no one wants the house, mate. There's just a lot of empty houses, a lot of vacant land, and yeah, they might be on the market to sell it, but there's no buyers, man. So if you want to live in a kind of smallish town, medium town, just anywhere essentially except for Minsk and maybe the top 5 or 6 cities after that, like go to a third tier or below, and essentially the land will be close enough to free, right? So this looks a bit grim, to be quite honest, but this is the reality, right? This is feminism, this is what we have, and this is what happens. So and also once you have the land, yeah, you can do whatever you want with it, but once you've got it, you can never sell it, right? That's the flip side. There's no market, so it's yours forever. So it's a sunk cost. It's not an appreciating asset like you'd have in the West, where you have this kind of limitless increases in population driving prices higher, right? So this place here, this is a dog training park, check this out. It's really quiet here. It's the middle of Saturday afternoon. I'm so surprised it's so quiet. You have a few sunbakers there on the grass. There's a little river down there as well. People are kind of lying on the deck chairs there. And this is I'll just walk down here. There's a dog training facility here. And this is the first time I've ever walked here and there's been no one with a dog. I'm so disappointed. But you can see they train the dog to jump over that, run through there, jump through that little thing there, run back over. Ooh. I've never seen this before. It's pretty funky. Oh, here's a lady with a twin stroller. I'm just talking about low birth rates and no children. There's two. Good news. So yeah, you can pretty much set up in a second tier or third tier and below essentially for free. I mean, that's the bottom line. So I guess that's a positive. Everyone's complaining about, because for me, I'm like, mate, the West has a lot of positives, yeah? Like, it's easy to make money and save money and accumulate and set yourself up. You can't really do that in a place like Belarus, you know what I mean? Like, it's much harder anyway, a lot harder. But the common complaint is that people are like, mate, I want to buy a house, it's fucking $6 million for a shack. It's like, well, here it's essentially free. So that's the second point. Second positive about living here in Belarus. Potential positive. Third potential positive is the food's really good quality, man. I have to say. Here's a nice little river. You'll see some kids sometimes fishing in this little river here. I'm not sure if you'd want to eat the fish out of it, but anyway, they do it. There's that dude, he's probably fishing there. You can see the fella there with his blue shirt on. He's probably doing a bit of fishing. Bit of family vibes there as well. And I'll come back up to the main area here, the main road. This is kind of the end of the metro line here and quite a busy area, so I'll come up and show you. But yeah, the food supply is good quality, man. The meat's good quality, lots of variation, still a lot of seafood as well. Frozen, obviously. But you know, how often do you eat fresh stuff anyway? I mean, you often freeze it and store it and whatever, I guess. But good fruit, vegetable supply, lots of cheeses, breads, cakes, some foreign influence as well. If you go down to Kamarov, you get a lot of Central Asian, Arabic. There's an Afghani family I buy some shit off. There's quite a lot of options down there, and it's good quality in general. So I think that's a positive here. Like, even compared to, say, Russia, I think the food supply is not as good in Russia, quite frankly. Now, when I say food supply, I'm talking about Kamarovka, and I'm talking about large supermarket chains. I'm not talking about your little neighborhood society or your little micro Yeveropt that's only got 3 aisles, right? You're not going to get much there. But going to the larger places, it's good quality, right? So this is important, and good variety as well. Good variety of tropical, temperate climate fruits and vegetables. Yeah. So for me, that's a real positive. So that's the third thing. Fourth thing is that, look, everyone complains about inflation since COVID and Monday printer go blah, 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 blah. Everyone's complaining about inflation everywhere. And yeah, there's inflation here. In fact, the haircut I just got 2 days ago, they used to charge, when I first got here, only 7 rubles. And less than 3 years later, that 7 went to 8 to 9, 10, 11, and now 12 when I went there on Thursday for another snip. So inflation's real here, man. And Coffee's, you guys know Coffee's, it's like a young person's budget but fun coffee shop chain, right? And their extra large coffees were 5 rubles, which is about $1.60, until, sorry, it's a bit too dark under here. My phone's a bit confused as to what to focus on. Give me a moment. And that went up to $6.50 during the week, so it's 30% increase. Large coffees from 4 to 5, 25% increase. So you do get these spurts up. So inflation's here as well, but man, overall, it's still, you know, most day-to-day things are probably about a third of the price that they would be in the West. Now, there are some exceptions, yeah, like they do have a tax here on imported goods. So if you just want like a common phone or something, that's going to cost a lot more than it will in the West. I was just looking the other day, I'll probably go home in about a month's time, and I was like, should I buy a phone here or should I buy it at home? And I checked the price, it's a lot cheaper in Australia, 30-40% cheaper in Australia. So that day-to-day stuff is a lot cheaper here, definitely. Probably a third of the price, maybe half of the price at worst for most things, but it depends what it is, absolutely. So here's a major strip here. You can see just the density of the housing there, various shops lined up there, convenience stores, and so forth. This is very typical, man. I feel like every suburb starts to feel almost the same. There's some of the older buildings there, you can see that. To be honest, look, I'm a pretty easygoing dude, man, but I fucking hate these buildings. These old Soviet 60s, 70s generation, they're so ugly, man. I really just can't get down with these at all. They look like government housing in Australia. It's really just the worst, I have to say. Just horrible looking things. But anyway, you got plenty of options around, as you can see. All right, there's 4 basic positives of life here in Minsk and or Belarus in general. I hope you enjoyed those. Do stay tuned for my next video, which will be discussing the negatives or possible negatives of a life lived in Belarus over the long term.